let's get down to business.
Disclaimer. To the Pharisees and Karens out there,
How dare you!
all guests on this show do not reflect the opinions of the host. The purpose of this show is to have interesting conversations, stretch our minds, and grow.
Not what we want!
If you are looking for an echo chamber, viewer and listener discretion
is advised.
You talk about extreme.
If knowledge is a crime, we were guilty from the start. They don't fear the questions, they fear the spark. So we steal the fire, not to rule, not to reign, just to see through smoke and mirrors and call peace by name. They call it dangerous thinking, they call it heresy. But fire doesn't fear the dark, it only shows what's real.
Hey everybody, what is happening? Welcome to the maiden voyage of the Prometheus Report. And here we're going to try to look at global phenomenons and happenings and news and culture and all that kind of stuff, but through a biblical lens. Not only a biblical lens, but through a mythological and symbolic lens to try to see what's going on really underneath the surface layers in our culture today. So guys, if you are here, thank you so much for subscribing. You probably have come over from the Prometheus Lens podcast. I have talked about this new channel that I've created, and that I don't want to mix match, so all my deep dive history, mythological, symbology, all that kind of stuff over there on the Prometheus Lens. But I want to get into pop culture. I want to get into current news cycles and things like that to comment on, because I don't want to mix those two up, because it kind of helps the algorithm. So I've been told, if you have a channel with all kinds of mix match stuff in there, that confuses the algorithm and they don't know where to put you or who to send you to. So that's what we're doing here, guys. This is the Prometheus Report, and I've been kind of waiting to see which what I really want to do, but then this popped up yesterday and I was like, okay, there's no better one for me to jump on and start with than to start with this one. Okay guys, well, I'm going to kill this music right here, and just for those that don't know, man, hey, welcome. I'm your host. I am Doc Brown, host of the Prometheus Lens podcast. If you guys want to follow me on social media, this banner right here below, which my other banner's kind of blocking it, let me lift it up a little bit. Maybe I won't. Either way, find me on socials, Prometheus Lens Podcast, and the website is PrometheusLensPodcast.com. I have recently updated that. I'm trying to think what else. Oh yeah, if you haven't done so already, please hit that like button. That is the podcast currency. That is the YouTube currency that pushes us to more people. And I also added this down here below, this little news ticker. I'm going to try to keep that updated, let you guys know if you want to donate to the show, where you can donate to, current things that's going on, and letting you know, hey, super chats, super stickers, those are much appreciated, and those will get called out and showcased on here, questions answered, that sort of thing, to try to encourage that. And if you'll notice right here, I'm also advertising about current events that's coming up. And May the 2nd, I will be in Owensboro, Kentucky, for Faithfluence. It's a one-day conference with all kinds of Christian influencers coming together. John Pounders will be there. He's the one that told me about it and invited me. I will have a table there, so come by and say what's up. Shake my hand. Let's get some pictures. Let's hang out, bros and gals. But okay, without further ado, I guess we can get into the meat of the matter for today. I was I was at Micah Van Huss's house. So shout out to Micah. I've had him on the show once before. I plan on having him on the show many more times in the future. Great researcher, great author, great guy. But he invited me to his house, and he has this thing he does every year called Smoke Fest. And he's a neighbor of mine. He just lives, maybe 30 minutes down the road from me, just like the river winds. Excuse me. So many great Christian minds in my area. I'm so excited and happy to live where I live at and have fellowship with these people. But I actually released like a little, 2 or 3 minute video. I went there and got some footage. So this smoke fest was everything barbecue smoke, gun smoke, and cigar smoke. So I got a lot of picture and video of us, smoking cigars, eating some good barbecue, and shooting some guns. And I kind of just wove together a little 2 to 3 minute video. But of course, with that kind of stuff going on, you got to throw some AC/DC in. So I had Shoot the Thrill. I thought that was very, very appropriate. But while I was there, I heard about this stuff with Donald Trump and Joe Rogan. And it just come across my news feed, and it's like, he's pushing for legalization of psychedelics. Now, no lie, not that long ago for me, maybe 10 years or so ago, 20 years ago, that would have excited me. But that was my BC days before Christ. And honestly, this is one of those subjects that, if I'm just being honest and upfront, I don't know, I guess I'm like 60-40. I'm kind of split, man, because I'm kind of conflicted. But I will get into that with you guys in the future. But here I just want to pull up this video for those that don't know and have not seen this, of this press conference and what exactly went down. So I'm going to hit my share screen right here really quick. Let's see. There we go. I'm going to play this through, and I will stop and try to give some commentary. And also chat, hey, get involved. Let's hear what you got to say. But for those that haven't, I'm going to give this a little play here. Oh, no audio. Hang on a second. Thank you so much. It muted. It does that every time for some reason here lately. When I switch to this screen, it mutes it. Sorry about that, guys. Let me back up real quick. We was only 40 seconds in anyway.
He is speaking and signing an executive order. Let's take you to the White House.
And a lot of the people behind me, they're tremendous professionals, medical professionals most, and some military, like Marcus, some great military professionals too, real hero. Today I'm pleased to announce historic reforms to dramatically accelerate access to new medical research and treatments based on psychedelic drugs. In many cases, these experimental treatments have shown life-changing potential for those suffering from severe mental illness and depression, including our cherished veterans. Our veterans are having a tremendous hard time. The suicide rate, we have it down a little bit, but they are having a hard time. And I got a call from a number of people, including the great Joe Rogan, and he said, we have to do something about this. And I looked into it. I called Bobby, I called Oz, I called Marty and Jay, and it was uniform support. And I said, so why would we wait 3 or 4 years to get it done? Or 10 years, frankly. Let's get it done immediately, and that's what happened. This has probably never been anything happened so quickly. Everybody is so strongly in favor of this. It's for a lot of people, but it's for our military in particular. The suicide epidemic among veterans is a national tragedy. Since 9/11, we've lost over 21 times more veteran lives to suicide than on the battlefield. So we lose, think of that, 21 times more. And today we're bringing them new hope. I think you're going to see a big difference and a big reduction in that number. I want to thank Secretary of Health and Human Services, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who's a fantastic, where are you, Bob? Over here. He always makes it difficult for us. Come here, Bobby. He's done a great job, too. And people love him. And more importantly, your wife is here someplace, Bobby. She's out there. Where are you? Where are you? The real boss in the family. It was fantastic. Thank you very much for being here. As well as FDA Commissioner Marty McCary, CMS Administrator Dr. Mehmet Oz, NIH Director Dr. Jay Bhattacharya. See how easy that name is? You know, it used to give me a little trouble. That was a tough name. Congressman Morgan Luttrell, who's a friend of mine and he's a real war hero. He knows something that a lot of us will never find out about. Retired U.S. Navy SEAL Marcus Luttrell, the two of them. I don't know what's in your blood, fellas. You guys are good mom and dad, right? Mom and dad. Yeah, good somebody. Good to have you. Joe Rogan, who's a fantastic person. We did a little interview before the election. We had over 300 million people. And I said, oh man, I hope Kamala doesn't do it. And she didn't. He wanted her to do it, but she didn't. Someday Joe's going to explain why. I could tell you why. But along with many other, because she didn't want to, with many other veterans. And I just want to thank the people behind me are outstanding. It's an amazing group. The executive order I'm signing, we're actually signing the executive order today, is really a moment. It directs the FDA to expedite their review of certain psychedelics already designated as breakthrough therapy drugs. They're very much being discussed. It's one of the hottest things I think you're talking about, Oz, right? It's nothing. If these turn out to be as good as people are saying, it's going to have a tremendous impact on this country and other countries, too. These treatments are currently in the advanced stages of clinical trials to ensure that they're both safe and effective for the American patients. And the nice part is we're actually doing this early, but it has been going on. Research has been going on for quite some time. But, you know, usually with things like this, nothing ever happens, no matter how the research ends up. But we're changing that. This order will clear away unnecessary bureaucratic hurdles, improve data sharing among the FDA and the Department of Veterans Affairs, and facilitate fast rescheduling of any psychedelic drugs that become FDA approved. And we think many of them will go very quickly. And I have to say the most favored nations pricing that I established, has been knocking the cost of drugs down by 50, 60, 70, 80%. And I also want to thank you and Bobby for the great job you've done. It's incredible. The press refuses to write about it. I think it's probably as big as what we're talking about today. The drug costs are going down and by the way, Trump RX, which is the way you go to get your very low cost drugs. But when you think in my first term, for 28 years, drug prices went up, and I got it down 1/4 or 1/8%. I was so proud of myself. It's the only one that in 28 years got them down. And I had a news conference to explain how great I was. I said, I'm the greatest there ever was. I got it down 1/8%. Okay? I was very proud because it only went up. For 28 years, it went up. Now I got it down a little bit. And now I got it down 50%, 60%, 70% with these guys. So now I am, you know. But nobody wants to write about it. But it doesn't matter because the people have found out and they're getting, you know, we were the highest in the world by far. Sometimes would be 10 times higher than other countries. You'd buy a drug, I call it the fat pill or the fat drug. You'd buy it in London. You'd buy it for $10 for a pill, let's say, or a pill generally. But actually, to be specific, London, $87, New York, $1,300. I said, how can that be possible? How can it be possible? $87. And actually, a friend of mine called me up and he said, you know, he's a very rich guy. And he happens to be on this Ozempic, I guess, at the time. And it was not working, by the way. The guy was extremely successful, but highly neurotic. Got a lot of problems. I will not mention his name. He's begging me not to mention it because he's become quite famous. He's a big factor here. But he's very smart, very rich guy, very, very successful guy. And he said, hey, President, he used to call me Donnie. Now he calls me President, sign of respect. He said, I'm in London. I bought this stuff for $87. In New York, I pay $1,300. What's going on? I said, well, that's the way it is. We pay the highest prices in the world. And it sort of hit me that how ridiculous it is. Made, by the way, he checked it. He had a whole big research done on it because he couldn't believe it. Made in the same factory, same plant, same, everything was the same except the price. And now we are the lowest price. We are tied. In other words, whatever the lowest price in the world is, that's the price we pay. That's a tremendous difference. So we'll be paying, they go up a little bit. So the 87 will go like to 120 and we'll go down from 1,300 to 120. So we'll have these massive price cuts and they've already started. And I think it's one of the biggest things.
Yep, I'm with Smack there. He's rambling a little bit. I was wanting to hear the part where he talked about the conversation with Joe Rogan, but I guess that was toward the end because that's one thing a lot of people was really reacting to was the clip that I'd seen. It must be somewhere in here, but he says that he gets a call from Joe Rogan. It's like, man, you need to check out these psychedelic treatments and how it's helping veterans and PTSD and all this other stuff. He said, and I immediately reached out to FDA and said, hey, let's push this thing forward, let's get it done. He said, and it was done. And everybody's like, oh my gosh, he just makes a phone call over a text message and this is awful. I'm not defending Trump here, but everybody knows, how he is, okay? He's full of it,
Bullshit.
He is. He's just full of it, and he exaggerates a lot. You know what I mean? So I wasn't in the room, but I'm quite positive it didn't go exactly like that. But I'm sure he pushed forward and did what he had to do. But this is something that, guys, honestly, I am so divided on. Because anybody that follows me knows I'm not a black or white, this or that kind of guy. I see the world in color. It's not black and white. And I actually had a friend that was pretty heavily into drugs. Me and him had a conversation one time, and we were talking about this very thing. And, back in my younger years, my wilder years, I ate a lot of mushrooms. I dropped quite a bit of acid. There wasn't too many things that I didn't do. But the only thing I probably didn't do was put a needle in my arm. And I'm not glorifying it. I'm just telling you where I'm at. Okay, a lot of people want to talk about things and they've never done it or experienced it or even been around it. I have experienced it, been in it, and around it. So I think I can speak on it with some authority. But my friend, me and him was having a conversation one time, and we were talking about this very thing. And this was, many years after I had quit doing all that stuff, but he was still dabbling. And I was kind of talking to him about it, and I said, dude, I don't know, I just kind of see it as a back door to the spiritual realm, and you have contact with, fallen angels and deities and all this other kind of stuff. And I said, I just think it's, evil. And I talked about Enoch. It says that fallen angels came down and taught men, all these different things, but they also taught them the cutting of roots, pharmakia. And he said some things to me, asked some questions, and said some things that honestly it stuck with me, man, because they were good points, and they were good questions, and they were questions that I just didn't have the answer to. And one of the things he says to me, he says, Justin, do you agree with me that God is the creator of everything, that Satan creates nothing? I said, yeah, I agree with that. And he said, okay. So a lot of these, he said, are organic. They're straight from the ground. He said, doesn't Genesis 1 say all seed-bearing herb I given to you for your consumption, and God seen it was good. And I said, yeah, it does say that. He said, okay, then who is man to say it is not, and control, what we do and what we put in our body if we're not harming other people. And I was like, okay, and he kind of get me a little bit, but then he said, even furthermore, he said, God is the divine architect. He said, he designed everything and he does it perfectly. Do you agree with that? And I said, yeah. I said, because when he finished creation, he says, and behold, it was very good. And he said, okay. He said, have you ever looked into the, physiology of your brain? He said, you ever wonder why when you smoke a joint or when you take a hit of acid or eat some mushrooms, whatever, he said, you get that feeling. He said, your brain has things called receptors. He said, so it's pre-programmed, like a ball glove and a ball. It's made to catch the ball. And that's what he said, these receptors. He says, God created you. And so he makes this plant, and he says, all seed-bearing herb I given to you for your consumption, God seen it was good. And he designed you with receptors in your brain to accept these chemicals. He obviously meant for you to use them. And I was like, man, you make a fair point. I mean, I don't know what to say to that. Because if I refuted that, then I'm saying God, creates evil things. Or, in fact, that the devil has creation power. And I don't want to accept any of those. So, I don't know, man. Like I said, I don't have all the answers, but it's a conflicting thing for me. I think a lot of things are like the matter of the heart. There's some people that want to say, drinking alcohol is a sin and the Bible condones it. I don't see that. Jesus, his first miracle, he turned water into wine. And it says he done that so the celebration could continue. So it wasn't that they were thirsty. They had plenty of water. That's what they did. They took the water and made wine. So he turned the water into wine so the celebration could continue. Right? Then the Last Supper, he drinks wine. And I've heard, some people say, oh, well, it was not fermented. It was not fermented.
A bullshit?
I call it out once again. It would have said grape juice. That they knew the difference between grape juice and wine. It was fermentation. So, but there's some people that can have a glass of wine or a beer with their friends and just have a couple walk away and not touch it till the next weekend or a month from now or a year from now. They can casually drink and enjoy a drink. But there's some people that can't, man. And I've had a lot of family members, including my father. I lost my father when I was 8 months old from alcohol and drugs. He wouldn't like that. He would have one drink, and then that one led to 12 or 24 until he either ran out of money or he passed out. And I've seen people just completely destroy their lives, with drugs and alcohol. So at the same time, with those two types of people in mind, you just come right out and say, just ban all alcohol. It's ungodly because these few people over here acted wildly and couldn't handle their drink? Or do you say it's a matter of the heart and the Holy Spirit convicts those who need to be convicted to not do it? Listen to what the Holy Spirit says. And that's why I grew up and was raised that one person's sin is not the other person's sin. And I see that. I mean, to me, NASCAR on Sunday could be a sin. If you're somebody that loves NASCAR and NASCAR kicks off at 12:30 in the afternoon on Sundays, and come 11:30, 11:45, that pastor ain't done, you jump up and head out the door and skip out on the service to watch your NASCAR, then that NASCAR is a sin. So, but that's just my 2 cents on it. But like I said, there's many bad things with these hallucinogenics. I'm not praising them. I'm not putting them up. I'm just telling you both sides of the fence here. And Ben, a good friend from End of the World News, he had a psychedelic experience that ultimately led him to finding God. That one guy, I cannot remember his name now, but he was part of the Jesus Freak movement in California. He met God during an LSD trip. You know, God can meet you where you're at. And there's been studies shown, like Trump was saying, that this has actually helped some people. And especially with the opioid epidemic. I mean, this is something that's really gripped the country. And once again, I used to get prescription pain medicine from my doctor. I mean, I got it for over a decade. And I finally got to the point, and I was like, I don't want to take these my whole life. I want to get off these things. And I'm like, I'm strong, man. Strong-willed, strong-minded. I've walked away from all the hard stuff in my life, you know. I can do whatever I want to do. And, man, I did. God, it was rough. And it's hard, man, for people that's never touched a drug in their life, never been addicted to anything, talk about, oh, it's just so easy, give it up, and want to know why so many people relapse. Man, I'm telling you, it's tough. Sitting there and not being able to sleep for an entire week and suffering from insomnia and just cold shivers, cold sweats, burning up, blood pressure spiking up, not being able to keep any food down, just throwing up. I mean, you feel like death. And then you have that temptation moment. You're like, oh man, if I could just take this over here, I won't be sick no more. So, but if you do, you tough it out. Well, then you think it's over, right? No. Because these drugs you are taking suppress your brain's natural ability to release dopamine and all these feel-good chemicals. So when you stop taking these drugs, your brain has not produced these chemicals in ever how long. So if you took, these drugs for 10 years, that's 10 years your brain has not made any dopamine or any of these feel-good chemicals on their own. Now all of a sudden, it's like a car. You might buy a brand new car, but if you leave it sitting outside for 10, 20 years and never start the thing, it ain't going to start. You're going to have to do some work to it. And your brain and your body's no different. So you finally make it through. You go through that week of hell. And you're like, okay, everything's going to be good now. Wah, wah, wah. No. Because you're lethargic all the time. You feel depressed. You have no energy. You're like, man, this is not a life at all. And you do. You have these moments where you're like, man, if this is my quality of life after getting clean, to hell with it, I'll go back because I want some quality of life. So me coming from that background, when I hear people talk about, a medication or some kind of thing that people can take and help them get off of it, it intrigues me, and I want to try to help people that went through those things because I've been there. I know it's easy for somebody who's never touched that stuff or went through withdrawal to, oh no, just tough it out. And one guy said something that really struck me, and I'm going to play this video. And this is why I said that made me so heavily convicted. There's this guy that's been talking on Joe Rogan about this medication. And I want you to listen to what this gentleman has to say here.
But unfortunately, the press doesn't like to talk about it. But
it's one of these. Rick Perry. Okay. Yeah, his name is Rick Perry. So if I go back to share screen. Okay. And that muted the audio again, so I'll unmute that. All right, check out some of these videos, this guy talking right here.
Amber and Marcus Capone founded an organization called VETS, Veterans Exploring Treatment Solutions. Marcus Capone had been a special operator. He came home and was met by a system which could not in any way effectively address the nature of his trauma. Recognizing that his life was at stake, she became desperate and went online and discovered the existence of a compound called ibogaine. She made arrangements for Marcus to receive treatment. She said when he returned, he came back as the man she remembered marrying before he ever went to war. They began just as a friend group to put money together to send their close circle of individuals down to receive this treatment. Because of the miraculous outcomes which were endorsed by the veterans who were receiving this treatment, a group of philanthropists funded a study out of Stanford University, which was led by Dr. Nolan Williams. A cohort of 30 veterans were evaluated before and after ibogaine treatment. The results of that study are nothing short of miraculous when it comes to the way in which ibogaine has been revealed to have significant neuroregenerative properties that impact the human brain, with profound implications for conditions for which there are no current effective treatments. Amber and Marcus Capone founded an organization called Vets.
So there's that. Somebody had a really good success story with it. And I found another video of this same guy, but he goes into the statistics for opioid withdrawal and the success they've had with it. And this is what really, really got me, guys. Let's see if I hit exit maybe. There we go. And I originally found this on X. So I'll pull up X here. Pull this up, take it to full screen. All right, now listen to this, guys.
We've got three attributes that we're working with here. This is a revolutionary opportunity for us because ibogaine does three things. I would explain the physiology in terms of the way in which it literally, within 48 hours, will resolve physiological substance dependence for 80% of folks who take it but one time. That goes to 97% when they do it with a booster dose. As I said, second thing that it does is it restores an individual's sense of ownership over self. If they have lived lives of compulsion where they are driven by those things that imprison them, on the other side of the ibogaine experience, they recognize that they have ownership of self and future, and that future will be defined by choices rather than driven by compulsion. And that is fundamental and integral to recreating a viable existence. Then I would say, but finally, and most importantly, and Aubrey, I would say this to the most religiously Bible-believing, thumping person that you could find. I would say finally, and most importantly, many individuals who have an ibogaine experience come away with a concrete affirmation and knowledge that they are a spiritual being made in the image of an almighty creator whose essence is pure and unconditional love for them, and that they have a unique and special purpose to achieve with their life. And as I would say those words, I would recognize that this divine emancipation medication is able to deliver a human being what I was given by my papas in childhood. Ibogaine has the unique ability to restore the brain's dopamine and serotonin production to its pre-opioid exposure levels within 36 to 48 hours, thereby fully resolving physiological opioid dependence with a single administration for 80% of individuals the first time. That number goes to 97% with a second supportive dose. Wow. It is extraordinary, especially when we consider the outcomes that are produced by our existing treatment system. Its applications haven't just been successful when it comes to opioid dependency. It is the only known substance to successfully treat meth dependency. And when we consider that the current street economy, the prevailing combination is fentanyl and meth, there is no more compelling circumstance to demand the accelerated development of this therapeutic than the current reality of drug dependency and death in America. The risk comes with misadministration. There is a significant cardiac risk which accompanies ibogaine. It has the propensity to prolong the beats between the heart, or what is called prolonged QT interval. The fancy word for it is Torsades syndrome. If an individual is given ibogaine improperly, it will slow and stop their heart and they will die. This is a very serious medication, and it must at all times be administered by a medical professional with a background in interventional cardiology, supported by a nursing team that can deliver the administration of atropine to stabilize the heart's rhythm if it goes out of whack.
And so, like I said, guys, I am not justifying this, whatsoever. I'm just telling you that
we've got three attributes that we're working with here.
If I'm just being honest with you, man, I'm kind of conflicted on it. I mean, I don't know, because it's one of those things that could go either way. It could be used for really great things, you know what I mean? Or it can be used for really bad things. And I lost one of my little windows, so I can't see my volume levels anymore. So give me a thumbs up in the chat if you guys can still hear me. I don't know where that thing went. I usually have a little box here telling me if I'm good on volume or bad. So now, but go to the other opposite side of it, because I want to try to cover both sides of it. I've done shows with Vicki Joy Anderson and some other people talking about the bad side effects and downsides of this messing with these hallucinogenics too. People have just crazy experiences, and it does. I mean, I think it is, kind of like a back door to the spiritual realm. But I've heard people too, just like this guy right here, that people have, good experiences and stuff from it too. But I don't know, man, maybe it's just a matter of the heart and your intention, and not abusing anything, because that's the thing. I seen someone in the chat said earlier, that yeah, God creates things, but the devil perverts them. Yeah, and I think more often than not, humanity perverts them. Just like alcohol. Back in the day, alcohol was given for cough suppression. And what happened? Somebody found out, if I drink too much of this, then I can catch a buzz. So people started abusing it. Marijuana. It's been shown to people with anxiety to calm their anxieties. Cancer patients with upset stomachs and can't eat and don't have an appetite. It calms them down and gives them an appetite to eat. But some people, instead of just using it, sparingly and for, medical purposes, smoke dope all day long and just sit on the couch and play video games. Once again, that's somebody abusing something I believe that God created for us to have. And like my buddy brought the point up, why else would God program these receptors in your brain to receive them if you're not to use them? That's something that really, really stumped me. Yeah, Scripture says, come and reason, and that's what we're doing now. Yeah, and that's the thing, guys. I mean, some people get upset when you question norms, but I think God programs us to be curious and to question norms, and truth is not afraid of questions and examination, because truth holds up, right? And it's so important that we have to discern truth from dogma. There's a big difference in that, and deprogramming yourself from things you've been taught your whole life that's not really biblical. It's just traditions of men. But I wanted to touch on some books that show some of the bad sides of these things. And if you guys are interested in this, that I highly suggest that you check out. And I planned on doing some episodes on these, and I will, but I want to reread them and repackage them better for you and through a more biblical lens. But right now I'm waist deep in the research for my book, and I'm rereading DeVare's Dragon Legacy and Gardner's Lord of the Rings and different things like that, studying for my book that I'm in the midst of writing. But this book right here, guys, The Cosmic Serpent and the Origins of Knowledge by Jeremy Narby. Now, it's been a while since I read this, And this guy is not a Christian, but he talks about, and I can't remember why, but he goes down to South America, and I believe he's volunteering, for like mission work, and not Christian mission work, but like, to help out people in South America. And he basically lives with them for quite a long time and makes friends with them and kind of assimilates into the culture. And he started seeing people take this ayahuasca, and they were calling them the spirit journeys, and that they see the gods and they get revelation. And he's heard on TV and on the radio people like what's his name, Aaron Rodgers, Luke Rodgers' brother, that he takes it and it helps him so much and hears all these good things. So then he got curious and wanted to try it. And so they told him that, yeah, you'll take it and you'll see the world serpent or the cosmic serpent. And everybody he got to talking to talks about seeing this serpent, this cosmic serpent. And he started taking it, and he too started seeing this cosmic serpent. And it's crazy how everybody that took it talks about seeing this same thing. So I know a lot of people talk about, when you take a drug, it's what's in your mind, what you think, and you manifest it, Well, then how come everybody sees this serpent? It's like this is a direct path, to this serpent, or the world where the serpent is, man. And he said that he started taking this stuff repeatedly and meeting this thing repeatedly. And he said it was just this huge, cosmic serpent, and that the scales on it, glowed and they shined, so it's kind of like even the Bible, the Nakash, the shining one. And he said the first few times he seen it, that it would just appear and stare at him and make him feel awkward and would never talk to him or respond to him. And he said the more he kept going into this trance state, it's like the serpent got more comfortable with him. And eventually it started talking to him. And what's crazy is, in this book right here, for if anybody's just, popping in late or something, The Cosmic Serpent by Jeremy Narby. And basically he says at the end, of his stay in South America, and he'd been taking this stuff for a long time, he said that this serpent, shows up like it always does and starts talking to him and tells him about the origins of mankind. Okay, and that's why you have this DNA strand here, because the serpent reveals to him, near the end, that he is the spirit of this, alien race, basically. And that, ancient humans called them the gods. And they showed up and gave all this knowledge and technology and all this stuff to humanity, and even interbred with them, okay? I mean, it sounds just like Genesis 6, folks, okay? And this guy's not a Christian. And he said that that basically there was an intergalactic war, and that, their supreme, person in their race, like their god, their over deity, went to war with them. And that there was this huge war, and that this group of people that come to Earth were all of one accord, and they were trying to escape persecution from this mean and nasty overlord that used to rule over them. And that they found humanity here, and like just like Genesis 6, taught them all this stuff and interbred with them. And he says that basically the keys to the universe, they programmed into the DNA of mankind. That if mankind were to do the right sciences and unlock this cosmic key, they could have the answers to, the universe and the cosmos. Because just like Prometheus movie, and this was before that movie, interbred with humanity and basically downloaded or programmed the answers to life in the DNA of humanity. And tell me that just ain't wild. This guy's not a Christian, never read the Bible, didn't know nothing about it except surface level stuff, I'm sure. And he gets told the story of Genesis 6, the fallen angels breeding with the daughters of men and giving knowledge. It just blew my mind reading that. And another thing too is like when you look to see how these, primitive people come up with this concoction of ayahuasca, because it's two different kinds of plants. The main plant, and don't quote me on this because I'm no expert, but I can speak pretty good in generalizations here. But whatever plant they found that has this, dimethyltryptamine, the active ingredient that makes you trip, if they just took it by itself, it has no effect. That if they took it, basically the enzymes in your body attack and break this chemical down, so therefore you get no effect from it. So they mix that plant with another plant, and this plant basically bonds to this dimethyltryptamine and tricks your body into thinking that it's something natural and they don't need to attack it, so therefore it doesn't attack it, and the body has time to absorb it, and then you get that chemical to bind to your receptors, and off you go. So it's like the Amazon, South America, has millions of different kinds of fauna. How in the hell did they figure this out? This one plant can only be mixed with one other one to bind together and work and produce this. Are we to believe that they just randomly just started plucking plants and eating them and mixing them together and trial and error until enough people died or got sick and they finally figured out how to make this stuff? I mean, the odds are not in their favor whatsoever. So I've heard some people say that maybe there was some kind of fallen entity that came forward and gave this to them. To me, that sounds more possible than just random chance and them, playing Russian roulette and trying to figure out which plants went together to give them this effect. I believe it was given to them, and I think it comes down to Genesis 6, and it comes down to the book of Enoch, where it says they taught them the cutting of roots. I think they knew that they were basically going to be imprisoned into the abyss, and this was a way for mankind to pick up the telephone and call them in prison, basically, and still have contact with humanity. I love how Gary Wayne talks about it. It's the celestial mafia. And another book that's kind of correlated to that, and this kind of goes into some of the stuff I'm studying about for my book that I'm working on now, The Tale of Two Trees, Chasing the Dragon. This is the Immortality Key by Brian Marescu. Forgive me for mispronouncing that more than likely. But the Immortality Key, The Secret History of the Religion with No Name. And in that book, they are breaking down all of the different religions, ancient religions, and their Eucharists and their drinks. And through archaeology and science, all these different jars they found and cups and different things, and doing testing, they have found out that a lot of these vessels and these Eucharists, they had psychedelic drugs mixed into the wine. That they were spiking the wine with mushrooms and dimethyltryptamine and all these other things, and even letting the barley wheat ferment extra long, and it grows this some kind of spore or bacteria. That way, when they make beer, even the beer would cause hallucinogenic effects. So this is what they were doing, for years. They were spiking these drinks and taking these trips and having these religious experiences, even in ancient times. And it's pretty cool to go through and kind of see the history of that and how that went. And I think that's where a lot of people want to throw up this certain verse in the Bible where it talks about, when I try to tell people, the Bible doesn't condemn drinking. They throw up that, one verse, what is it? Don't let any strong drink touch your lips. I think that's what they're referring to. The strong drink is these koukions and these spiked wines with psychedelics, because we know that they were going around at that time. And it says, be sober, be vigilant. Your adversary, the devil, is like a roaring lion who walketh about seeking whom he may devour. So, yeah, you can drink and, in my opinion, and catch you a little buzz and be smiley, but you can't be a drunk just drinking to, passing out wherever you're at and peeing on yourself. That's not sober. So I think the strong drink that they refer to is these. And they get heavily into the cult of Dionysus. And the Greeks would do this thing once a year, and they called it the Eleusinian Mysteries. And they called it there's another book too called the Road to Eleusis. And they kind of heavily referenced that book in here. And there's a doctor, and I can't remember his name now, but he's the one that is leading the charge kind of on this stuff, and he's an older guy, but he is the one that coined the phrase entheogens instead of drugs or hallucinogens. He thought that was a dirty word. So when he was doing his research on these Eleusinian mysteries and these spiked koukions and Eucharists, basically the ancients said that they would take these things to commune with the gods and have the gods indwell in them to give them knowledge, and revelation. So he kind of took some different Greek words and put them together, and basically, so that word entheogens is basically insinuating for the divine to indwell in you, because he said that he just felt drugs was a dirty word, and he didn't want it associated with these ritualistic type things. So if you guys think that would be interesting and something you'd want to look into, I highly suggest that. And it's kind of intimidating, but it's well worth the price of admission, in my opinion. And I think we see that Christ, with his Eucharist and his drink, take of my blood, just like Dionysus wanted you to literally drink his blood, and all these different kind of rituals and rites. I think that was another slap in the face to the fallen realm. Taking their rites and their rituals and just, stealing it from them and smearing it in their face and kind of showing all their followers, oh, no, this is the real truth. This is the real way. This is the real life. So I think you see that all throughout the Bible, of this spiritual warfare, them taking their rituals, taking their practices and their legends and mythology and reappropriating it and throwing it back in their face. For those that missed it, I did a show with Stephen from the Biblical Hitmen. It's up on my channel now, the Prometheus Lens podcast channel, and I talk about that. Me and Steve talk about that, how they just do all these things. And Paul is a prime example at Mars Hill. He didn't go up there and tell them they were all wrong. He took their legend and mythology of their people and twisted it to show them the truth, because they had all these statues to these gods, and there was one God that was the unknown God. So he's like, hey, yeah, you Greeks are a smart people, man. You got it all figured out, but hey, this statue right here that you got to the unknown God? I know who that unknown God is, and he is the Most High. So I see that as just kind of spiritual warfare, just bang right in people's face and showing God, showing these other lowercase g gods who the real big G God is. And another thing I'll kind of close out with is Dr. Rick Strassman. And he is a professor from the University of New Mexico. And it was, I think, the early 1990s. Let me pull it up. I have like a little tab over here. Where's it at? I might have had it on my phone. But either way, he wrote a book called The Spirit Molecule. And he was the first person, and he might be the only person, but I know for a fact he was the first to do, government-approved DMT clinical trials. and he took DMT, and most time, it's heavily polluted, or in drug terms, stomped on, not as pure as it could be. So where this was a clinical trial, he really condensed it and made it just super pure. And most of the time, DMT is either smoked or drank. Well, he purified it and made it just 100% pure and did an IV drip. So it was going straight into their bloodstream. And once again, these people were having all these crazy visions, and a lot of them were seeing serpents and mechanical elves and all the things that they were describing. And they pulled them in privately and interviewed them and had them write down everything they were seeing. So, but they were all talking about the same things. They were all seeing the same things. And even the places they were at, they were describing the same places. And like markers. And basically they started mapping this other realm. Yeah, you guys, I can't highly suggest enough for you to go read in on this. Dr. Strassman, the spirit molecule. And they did. They started mapping it. They started talking to everybody and drawing out maps. And everybody was saying, yeah, I was here, and I went down here, and I took a left, and I see this over here. So the next time they went in, they went to where they left off and just started exploring. And all of them started mapping this other realm, like 11 in the upside down. It's crazy. And I can't remember exactly, but I do know that Strassman was not a believer. And after all this stuff happened, it kind of changed his thinking. I don't think it made him a believer, but it made him really question his point of view and his stance on, gods or God or some other kind of higher intelligence than us. Well, guys, man, I hope you enjoyed that, but I just wanted to bring that up and kind of talk about that and show you what the news was saying about it and give you some of the good stuff, some of the bad stuff, and kind of my opinion on the stuff. Just wanted to have a little conversation with you guys and share it. Like I said, I had started this new channel and I had no content on here, so I need to just start doing some stuff. And this just happened yesterday, so I was like, hey, this is fresh news, and it's something that I know a little bit about and can have a discussion on and feel comfortable and not like a fraud. There's some subjects I just stay away from because I feel like a phony or a fraud. You get that imposter syndrome, or I do. I have people all the time reaching out, hey, why don't you come on the show, man? We're going to be talking about this. I'm like, I'd just be sitting there like a fly on the wall, man. I can't contribute to the conversation. I don't want to be there. No offense. But man, hey, I love you guys. Thank you for coming out on the maiden voyage, and I'm going to be trying to do this more often, at least once or twice a week, talking about current news, pop culture stuff, doing some reaction videos to some pop culture stuff and news stuff in the real section. I have an interview in just a little bit with a man for the Prometheus lens. It's going to be pre-recorded, but tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, come on over to the Prometheus Lens podcast channel, and there every single Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we are having a live study on Louis Ginsburg, Legends of the Jews, and we are now in our 18th installment of that. So come on over, let's talk about some legends, let's talk about some mythology of the Jewish people, and let's just have a live study together. You guys can come in, you can comment, you can ask questions. Don't just be listening to an audio book. Come and participate in the study. Guys, hope you enjoyed that, man, and we'll be back probably in a day or two and find something else to babble on about. But thank you for coming on the maiden voyage, guys. And hey, until next time, torches high, guys.
If the path avoids the cross, it's not the truth. So we steal the fire.